Hey, this is Chris Coleman again. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of the Compliance Compass. Today, we're going to be talking about a particular situation when someone brings an allegation to you. Now, I don't know if this has happened to you. It has certainly happened to me several times in my career, and it's a situation like this. Someone comes to you and says, I can't sleep at night. There is fraud going on in our organization. It's intentional. I've got evidence, and I can prove it. Now, just saying that, does that bring a visceral response? I mean, do you like, okay, let's go. Let's handle this. What do you do? Well, the reason I share this is because there is a particular situation in which this happens when the allegation is absolutely false. But the person who's bringing the report absolutely believes it's true. And that's a challenging situation. And there's a couple things that we want to do and how we handle this because believe it or not, you want to handle this delicately. It really requires, I would say, some careful navigation. So the first thing is you need to listen. I know in internal surveys we've done in various organizations I've worked at, as well as even what you see more broadly in whistleblower cases, there are two reasons that people bring qui tam lawsuits. The first one is there's a fear of retaliation, so they don't report at all. Clearly, in the situation I just described, that's not the case. But the other one is this idea that nothing will be done. Whistleblower cases often come to light because someone doesn't feel heard. And that's a key component. It's like, how do you make sure someone feels heard, even if their allegation is not correct, even if it's false? And the reason I think that's delicate, we'll talk about that in just a second. But you need to make sure that that individual, that reporter, who has come to you in good faith, is absolutely heard. One way you do that, and this is really point number two, is you need to investigate it. No matter how outlandish you think this is, you must investigate because you just never know what you're going to find. I could probably do an entire episode on assumptions, the power of assumptions and the danger of assumptions, and what kind of hot water you can get when you assume one way or the other, when you assume wrongdoing or you assume that there is nothing wrong. I've seen both, and that's something you have to fight against as a compliance professional. So you must look into it. You must investigate. So let's say that's what we've done in this particular situation. We've investigated it, and it turns out that the allegations were false. Now, in the situations that I've come across in my career, I actually believed those allegations to be true until investigation revealed that it was something far beyond that. There was no malice, there was no intent, but it was a complete misunderstanding or really just a lack of business acumen to understand budgets and revenue and contractual allowances and payments and all of those various things that ultimately are at the heart of compliance because ultimately the government does not want to pay for things that you are not entitled to. Sometimes we don't get paid for anything anyway. And so it's a matter of, well, we've got to do something a little bit more correctly, but we're not actually getting payment. Therefore, we don't owe a payback, if that makes sense. So why do I tell you this? And why did I open with the fact that whistleblowers often involve folks that don't feel heard? Because there are some individuals, when you tell them, I'm sorry, you're just wrong, this turned out not to be the case, that's not good enough for them. They are so convinced of their rightness, they believe that you're part of the problem. So how do you handle that? Well, number one, when I do an investigation, one of the things that I tell the reporter is, look, I'm not going to be able to tell you everything I find because just like I'm protecting your confidentiality in reporting, I'm also going to protect the confidentiality of those that I'm investigating. So I may give you some general updates, but I'm not always going to be able to give you the details. But here's what I can commit to you. I will give you feedback and I will give you a response and I will tell you where we are in the investigation. So to me, that response, that measured response is one of the most key components to help avoiding an unnecessary qui tam or whistleblower claim is to make sure you do that in a timely fashion. So sometimes that feedback, that response is something like this. I wanted you to know that we've taken your report seriously. We are investigating. We still haven't completed that yet, but we'll let you know when we have. In this particular case, in this kind of situation, if you don't feel that telling that individual that what they reported was absolutely incorrect, this is a response that I've said many times before. I come around, let's say the person's name is John. I really appreciate you reporting that. We take compliance issues serious in our organization. We took it so serious that we launched an investigation and we interviewed more than 5, 6, 7 people. It took us 2 months to complete this investigation. And here's what I can tell you. I can't tell you the details because, again, we protect the confidentiality of all those involved. But this is what I can tell you. Based on what we found, we have taken appropriate action. And again, we really appreciate you helping us being compliant everywhere, every day, all the time. Now, in some of those cases, the most appropriate action based on what you have found is that you close the case and nothing is done. But I think you, as an individual, have to think about how do you respond to reporters based on where their head's at, where their emotions at. But the principle behind that is you must respond at some point. You must provide feedback. If you don't, you run the danger of just another individual in an organization not feeling heard. And that never can turn out well. Thanks for tuning into this edition of the Compliance Compass. Remember, if you have a question that you want answered on our next edition, make sure you send me a message. Have a blessed day.